February 17th, 2023. And we haven't walked out much in the morning, but otherwise there's pollution and we haven't been able to see much. Today we were just bowled over by our first view of the magnificent Mount Ararat behind me, some 17,000 feet high. Yerevan's 3,000 feet high plus some change. So we're basically looking at a 14,000 foot difference. It's just dominates the sky. It's also part of a small chain. Mount Ararat, everybody knows, that's where Noah's Ark landed in the Bible. And it's such mythological and a religious symbolism that it's just overwhelming to actually view this, having heard of Mount Ararat all my life. And in all of our lives, we've all experienced this, but then to actually see it, it's quite emotionally, it's affecting us really dramatically. Mount Ararat, they've looked many times for some remains of Noah's Ark, and nothing's ever been found. But regardless, this is part of the Middle Eastern world, the cradle of civilization. We're just north of it here in Yerevan, in Armenia. It's a high plain that had very early connections to, they were attacked by the Assyrians and the Akkadians. Their culture was borrowed from Babylonia and Sumer. This is where civilization started in this area, just to the south of us, and then it immediately came up to this plain not too much further away. Why is Ararat mentioned in the Bible? Because Ararat was incredibly well known in those times, 1800 BC and earlier. It stands by itself as a singular mountain, a singular peak, very dramatic. All the people that know about looking in mountain chains, you're already high up, you'll see another mountain. It can be very impressive, but this dramatic distance, 14,000 feet, it's not that much shorter than looking 3 miles up. And of course, we're seeing it here from the north and to the east. Ararat's southwest of us. It's 50 miles from here. It's a 20-minute chopper ride. It's maybe 3 hours by car. Now, the other really important thing to mention is Ararat is the symbol of the Armenian people. It's the homeland. And this area is now that mountain is in Turkey, but it used to be part of the historic Western Armenia and homelands. And there's so many traces of Armenian history and monasteries and churches there still. They were wiped out in the genocide in 1915, and there's very few Armenians left in the area. Most of them had to leave, that survived, they left and formed part of the great diaspora. This is you can imagine now, historically, Ararat has been a symbol of Armenian culture and independence. And then after the genocide, how much more so that this land was wrested away from them through just the ultimate killing of as many as 1.5 million people. Ararat, although it's in Turkey, makes no difference to Armenians because that's their ancestral homeland. There's a lake called Van in Turkey where the Armenian culture, one shoot of Armenian culture predominated. We're seeing biblical history here. We're seeing the beginning of civilization and the knowledge amongst cultures in the Fertile Crescent in Egypt about this mountain and how it ended up in the Old Testament. And now we're seeing it as a symbol of Armenian independence and surviving the genocide. It all has such dramatic visual impact, but even more emotional impact. I'm truly astounded by the weight of the meaning of the symbolism of this mountain.